Welcome to the In Story Show. I'm Devorah Spillman, your host, and today I am thrilled to welcome Dorothy Martin-Neville. Hi, Dorothy.
Hello there.
So before we dive in, I want to speak a little bit about this spring 2022 theme, which is quantum imagination. And I like to call it the human superpower that has been largely untapped. We're going to dive in and kind of unlock the keys to your potential and support all of us to create a life that is filled with joy and meaning and purpose, that it honors the sovereign nature of who you are at your core so that you can actually shine your light in this world. So I'm going to just read you a little bit about Dorothy, but it is really, really a teeny bit, and she'll share a little more. So Dorothy is an international speaker, best-selling author, executive leadership coach and consultant, a master trainer. She is also the founder of 4 companies, including the Institute of Healing Arts and Science. For 19 years, she's trained physicians, nurses, and other medical practitioners, as well as non-medically trained individuals in the field of energy medicine. From an orphanage to the boardroom, she has learned the skills of resiliency, authenticity, claiming the I am, and knowing anything is possible with the right tools. I really love that. So I have read a little bit more about you, and we've talked for a bit before the interview. So give us a little bit of a context for a few of the extraordinary things you've done in your life so that everyone else will see what I said, which is you have clearly been ahead of the pack your whole life.
Well, yeah, I don't believe in surviving this journey. I believe in living it. So I jump in all the way with both feet. So I was raised in an orphanage initially, and then adopted and raised in the housing projects of South Boston. And my only way out of the projects was to become a Catholic nun. So I was a Catholic nun for a number of years, and ultimately went to college through that. And when I left religious life, I went back to Southie and had very little in common with most of the friends I could find. I was now college educated. Some were dead, some were on welfare, still living in the projects. And so I decided I wanted to see the world. I moved to Manhattan and became an international airline stewardess. And so, to make a long story short, because we could go on and on, there are many stories, but I ended up eventually getting married. About 15 years, I was divorced with 2 little ones and needed to go back to work to support my babies. And I went and got a master's and became a psychotherapist and opened up a private practice. And I was blessed. Within 3 months, I was seeing 42 patients a week with a 6-month waiting list that lasted almost 20 years. Wow. And so I think when you love what you do, you bring people a call to you. When you live your life with passion, people want that passion through osmosis. They need permission to have passion, because those of us who are passionate about things, we're alive. And sadly, the vast majority of people are surviving. And many want permission or direction in how to start living and living passionately. All right. So that's what I did. But about 3 or 4 years in, I noticed that certain personalities, although they were coming in for therapy, certain personalities came in and presented with breast cancer. Certain personalities were presenting with heart issues. Certain personalities presenting with fibromyalgia. And when I would mention to friends who were MDs, have you noticed that your patients have, with specialists, most of these MDs are specialists, lung cancer or this one and this one. And have you noticed that certain personalities really belong to your patients, that all of your lung patients have these issues, have this personality, all of your heart patients have these? No, it's coincidental. It's coincidental. I thought, no, if I can predict it, it's not coincidental. So I went and became certified, being who I am, in 9 different modalities of integrative healthcare.
What? 9 modalities of what?
Integrative health. I spent 4 years with Barbara Brennan in Long Island. This is 1,000 years ago, back when she lived up here in the north. And I studied many, about 5 of them were in acupressure in Eastern medicine realm, and really came to understand the psychological and spiritual causes of physical disease and disorders. And so what I did as a practicing therapist, and now with all of these modalities, at one point I picked the best, and this is my bias, what I thought was the best of each of those modalities, combined them together with my years of experience as a therapist, and created my own approach to integrative healthcare. And it was called the WISE method, an acronym for the Holistic Integrated Spiritual Energies. And I ended up writing my doctoral dissertation on the psychological and spiritual causes of physical disease and disorders.
Wow.
And in the process of the teaching and the studies and so forth, I was offered grant funding, NIH grant funding, to do research for my doctoral dissertation on my work with fibromyalgia patients. And
Wow.
so I have written a book. I've written several books, but one of my books is called Your Soul Sings, Your Body Dances.
Oh, love that.
And what it talks about is that when your soul is alive, when you are living your spiritual purpose, when you are living why you are here, when you are living who you truly are, your soul is happy, or your essence. I don't care what word you use, it's irrelevant to me. If you don't believe in a soul, your essence, your something, your life force. It is when it is alive and vibrant, you have your physical health. When you lose touch with your own essence, your own soul, when you get lost in depression and anxiety and whatever, you end up developing physiological disorders, because all energy begins energetically. And when your energy is depleted or weighted or whatever it may be, it impacts you spiritually. And you start, there's a belief system that life is hard and then you die, or life is a struggle, or life is against you. It doesn't matter. Whatever the spiritual belief is, it impacts you emotionally, where you become anxious or enraged or depressed. And you maintain that very low, it's like a stagnant pond in the backyard. When you, I still have a wee bit of the Boston in me, so there's a wee bit of words, words there. But when you have that, it's stagnant energy, it's like a pond in the backyard that becomes infested with fleas and gnats and all kinds of things, right? And when it's stagnant, then you end up developing physiological diseases. So the objective here is to go back to the energy, and where is your energy? And now in holistic healthcare, we're looking at, there are certain foods that weigh you down. You eat a half a dozen, me, I can't eat one, but you eat a half a dozen donuts, it's going to feel like you've eaten a brick, several bricks. It compresses the energy, and that energy gets compressed. You have certain foods that weigh you down. You have certain belief systems that weigh you down. You have stories you tell yourself that weigh you down. All of those things affect your energy, which then affect your worldview, your spiritual beliefs, which again affect. So we need to look at all of this. And those who exercise get the energy rolling. And so which is why for many, exercise picks them up, because it gets the energy in your body rolling. It eliminates that stagnant feeling.
Right.
And when you're alive, your body and your mind and your soul is meant to thrive, not survive.
Right.
Right. So I did all of this. I opened up the school. I had the school for 19 years. It was a 4-year program in energy medicine. And not everybody was allowed to go through each of the 4 years. You had to have a certain level of emotional and spiritual growth, as well as I taught different techniques that I had developed to work with different diseases every one of those weekends for 4 years. And then I became co-chair of the advisory board of a multi-million-dollar grant, oversaw energy medicine research across the country. Then I became a clinical instructor at UConn Medical School. So I've done a few things, and when my baby left for Cornell University, I came home and realized I was living in this huge home with 3 successful businesses, and I was unhappy. And I knew that if I stayed unhappy, not just grieving my son gone, I was living by myself, this huge house, felt like a cave, and realized I don't want to get sick. So I picked up a phone, called American Airlines and said, get me a one-way ticket to Anguilla in the British West Indies. I'm leaving the country. I'm moving to the Caribbean. So I lived in the Caribbean for 10 years on Anguilla, about 6 miles northeast of St. Martin. And ultimately I came back to America, where I live now. And so now I'm an executive leadership coach. I work with primarily women, but not solely women in leadership, because my experience is that most women have never had a mentor to teach them how to effectively stand in that I am, to effectively be the leader they are meant to be. And therefore I support leaders in business. Some are in corporate world and they're lost. Some are entrepreneurs with their own companies. Some are heads of hospitals. Everybody's different. And it's always down to, what are the stories you're telling yourself?
Yes. So I'm so all about that, right?
That's enough about me. That's my wee bit of my background.
All right. So, look, thank you for sharing that, because I do think our stories matter, and like the
Yeah.
journeys that we've taken and the choices that we've made. And just what you said about how you recognized that you were unhappy. So you bought a ticket to the Caribbean. Like, so that just, it shows a level of willingness to do something when
Mhm.
it's not working. Because a lot of times people get stuck and it's not working and they don't know what to do, or they don't
Right.
have the courage to do it. So you were telling me about a conference that you led recently and what you called it. And I would like you to tell us a little bit about what that was and why you called it what it is and what that means.
I'm a member of the Evolutionary Business Council. It's a group of evolutionary thought leaders, evolutionary business owners. And we have an annual conference and I was head of the annual conference this year and I decided to call it the audacity of courage. Because as entrepreneurs, we need to be courageous anyway to start our own businesses. All right. You need to be courageous to live this journey. I don't care what you do for a living, but as entrepreneurs, you need to have a certain type of courage and audacity. All right. So to me, that was it. And the more audacious you become, the more audacity you develop, the bigger the risk, the greater the life force you're putting out there, the greater the change you can make in the world.
So talk about, what does audacity mean to you? Give us some examples of being audacious. Like, I don't know that, I never used that word. I hardly have heard anyone use that word. I love that word. And it's not, we hear courage all the time, but the audacity of courage, I'm like, ooh, because you're not just saying being courageous. There's a concept of a quality of being in perception. I would love for you to talk into it a little more. And the reason I'm asking you is this: my concept of quantum imagination is my exploration into this more expanded thought. Like, I've done imagination my whole life, but I never combined it with the concept of what is a quantum shift.
Right.
And so for you, putting audacity and courage together, it's that same thing. Like, we're trying to get out of just the pathways, sort of the straight paths we've been stuck in. So
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to speak more about
The
being audacious,
audacity.
audacity. What is that?
Well,
What does it look like?
but the
Why did
thing
you
is,
pick it?
it takes courage to get up and say, I have my own business. Okay.
Yeah.
That's, oh, who on earth do you think you are, sweetheart? Sit right back down and keep your mouth shut. Nope, I have my own business. That takes courage. All right. But the audacity of courage says, and I'm going to make it one of the primary school businesses in this country. I'm going to make it primary. I'm going to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. It means, to me, the audacity of courage. When Michael left for college, and I called American and I got the one-way ticket and called an agent to put my house in the market. I'm leaving the country. And then I told my mother, and she said, wait a minute, how much money do you have in your 401k? Do you have a sufficient amount of retirement set up? What are you doing? You cannot go. This is a ridiculous idea. Who do you think you are? You've never made good choices. Now, here I am. I'm running 3 companies, seeing 42 patients a week. I've got hundreds of people in a school that's quite successful. Who do you think you are? Mom, I think I'm a grown woman with 2 grown children. My baby just went to college. I think at this point, Mom, I'm an adult. And I want to leave. I need to be happy. This is a ridiculous idea. So for many, all right, I made a courageous choice, but I think I'll give it up right now because, I'm getting a position here. All right, Mommy's right. I'll stay home. All right. Instead, it wasn't just, I'm going to take a risk and sell this house and buy a condo. Okay, that's scary because it's a change. Change is always scary. Or I'm going to sell this house and get a much smaller house because it's just me. All of that takes courage to make these life changes. No, to be outrageous, to have audacity. It says, I'm making a change that's so unusual. And I'm not making it because it's unusual. I'm making it because I know it's right for me.
Right.
Not right for everybody else. It's right for me.
Right.
So I'm having the audacity to make this outrageous decision to pack up and leave a country that I live in and move to another country, another culture, another lifestyle, and fly back to America every 2 months for a week to teach at my school. And Wayne Dyer, who was a man that used to be, he's passed at this point, but alive and well in healthcare. Wayne and I had the same agent. So she would book us sometimes up and down the Eastern Seaboard. So Wayne may be Tuesday night and I'm Wednesday, or I'm Tuesday, he's Wednesday, whatever the case may be. So I would do speaking engagements, and then I would teach at my school, and then fly home again on Monday morning and go back home to Anguilla. And so it's like the audacity of, who do you think you are to do something that outrageous? All right. If we are going to, and all of us have an impact on the planet, every one of us, whether we work or don't work, whether we stay at home with raising our family, whether we have a small little business or a major organization, it doesn't matter. We all have an impact on the planet. But if we are going to have the audacity of courage, what we're saying is, I want to have such an impact on this planet that my energy field and the energy field of my company is going to be huge. That doesn't mean I'm having 12,000 people work for me. It simply means that I want to have an outrageous, audacious impact out there. And it may be that I reach 100 people or 1,000 people, but I'm going to help transform them into outrageous leaders. Right. So that the impact resonates out, the energy vibration begins to make a shift in the world. And that can look like anything under the sun. There's no right way to do that. That's up to you. For somebody else, outrageous, the audacity of courage may be moving to the city. Right. Somebody else may be moving to the country. It doesn't matter what it is. When it is so far out of the box, right, that people are saying, are you out of your mind? And you're thinking, I am finally in my mind. Right. I'm living at a vibration I've been called to live at. And I finally have the audacity to jump in and say yes. So encouraging. Like I said to you even before we started, I said, I feel like that this interview is, and what you're saying, and really I hope this whole series will give people some hope, right, some encouragement that something beyond what is now is possible. Like you are such a model of what the status quo is not the only thing that's possible. Oh, and some of us can't live the status quo. It's deadly. And again, it's not that I say, what can I do next that's outrageous? It's not that at all. It's just, if I'm in meditation every morning and I'm connecting to myself and spirit, and this is what I'm called to do. And then I think, oh my God, I really feel called to do this. I don't know anybody that's done that before. Okay, then deep breathe. Take a deep breath before you jump off that cliff. Take a deep breath, but then jump. Right. Whatever you're called to, follow it. And some of us are simply jumping off much higher mountains, more suicidal perhaps, or more willing to take risks. The audacity of courage to jump off that cliff and go and follow what our heart and soul is calling us to. Right, 100%. And that doesn't have to be big in the outer view of things. Because, you know, in this whole interview series, you know, the second week are women who are being audaciously courageous to speak on an international interview series. Yeah. Because that they haven't brought their voice out. So all of you watching, this is your encouragement to that higher message you get. We want to hear it. Right. Like, we want to hear you. And every one of us gets those callings. And they're different. And it could be doing this. I mean, some of us, like myself, we have big mouths. We've done hundreds of these, all right? But for some, yeah, that first one is terrifying. And so that's the audacity of courage. Can you believe I'm actually speaking and people all over the world can hear me? Oh my God, how terrifying. All right. Yes. And you know what? Nobody is going to die because you've opened your mouth. Right. And many more people may come alive because you opened your mouth. Exactly. So take that risk, have the audacity of courage to step out of a box, and not even a foot out, to step 40 yards out of the box for you, whatever that means, right, and go for it. Right. This is where we can't do us and them. Well, do you know who I am? Oh, get over your damn self. You know, just, you know, take a risk, do it. We're all in this together. And we're all called to different places. Just take that risk and go where you're called. To me, as long as it is filled with unconditional love, As long as you are not working against
Right.
people, go
Right.
for it.
Right, right. And I think the other big thing is that we don't have to do it alone. Like what you said about most women
Can't do it alone.
haven't had a mentor.
Right.
Like the women who are in my group or people on this show, like feeling that we have support. It just, then the audacity of courage, that quantum imagination, that leap has like that unconditional love. Like a lot of times we didn't do it because we didn't have any support.
Right. Right.
And, you know, some are leaders who do it even though you don't have support. Like there are people like you, like I like to call you head of the pack, where you did it anyway. You know, I went into schools and did storytelling about imagination when nobody else did. Like, but it doesn't matter when you do it.
Oh
like
my God, no.
Now
50s, 60s, yeah, 50s, 60s, 70s is when we can be even more. I remember years ago, back in my 30s, I think I read, I heard of that book where When I Get Old, I'll Wear Purple.
Right.
And my girlfriend and I said, this is absolutely insane. We're getting a damn purple dress right now and we're going for it. I'm not waiting till I'm old. That makes no sense. I'm going to do it today. And so we went out and bought purple clothes just to say, okay, I'm not waiting. Because no, don't wait to come alive. Jump in.
Right.
But it's never too late to jump in.
That's right.
Whatever that time frame is for you, go for it.
Right.
Life is meant to be lived, not survived.
Right. Right. And so one thing you also said was you can do anything if you have the right tools. And I would love for you to share one or two tools if you have something that comes to mind that have really helped you or helped the women you've worked with.
Meditation is a huge one for me. Because when you can get up in the morning and realize this is me, this energy circle right here is me. Outside of me is my partner, are my children, is my career, are my friends, is my home. None of that is me. Those are all segments I have brought into my life, but none of them define me. And so frequently, women especially, we get lost in the roles we play and we cease to exist. When we can step back, there is me, and meditation does this. There is me, my relationship with spirit, my relationship with me exists right here. And outside of that is my parenting, is my spousal or whatever relationship, is my friendship, is my career, you know, is my neighborhood. When we forget it and somebody challenges our company, we think they're challenging us. Somebody challenges a belief, we think they're challenging us. Somebody challenges something we've created, we think they're challenging us. No, they're not. You're here. They're challenging something you made and created that's out there, apart from who you are, a byproduct of something you made or something you believe in, but it isn't you. And we need meditation. That's a tool that allows us to separate ourselves, to differentiate ourselves from the life we've created. We are not the life we've created or anything that exists in that life. We created it. So how can we be it?
Right.
You know,
it's out there. That point from which you're emanating. I like to think about that. So that tuning into that, I'm with you on that. I call it some kind of inner practice, something that lets you go to that.
For some, it's journaling. Place. I'm not a journaler, but for some people, they can't imagine not journaling. God bless you. Use it. It's not my tool. My tool is meditation. Yours is journaling. You hate to meditate. Okay with me. You like yoga. You don't want anything. Do yoga. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's some kind of inner. Right. Some kind of inner practice. Yeah. I agree. All right.
So that's primary. The other one I would say is having somebody in your life that keeps you real. You know, my clients will say frequently, you hold my heart while you kick my ass. All right. And I truly think that's an effective tool to have in your back pocket, that what they know is there isn't 1 ounce of judgment on anything they present to me. But when I hear them telling themselves stories that are getting in their own way, I'm going to say, get over your damn self. Right? Let's take a look at this. Is that true? You're incapable of doing? Could I go over the last 4 things you did that were absolutely unbelievable and you succeeded at? Well, those were all luck. Well, the first one might have been luck, sweetheart, but the last five, I think, really were not about luck. You got it. You got it. So when the story comes, you're not capable of doing anything well. Let's do a reality check. And I think those reality checks are so important.
I agree. I agree. We have to, I really do agree with you. We have to hold each other up.
Right.
Right. Like we see that, I often say we're a little invisible to ourselves. So when someone else sees you and reflects back to you, just what you said, that elevated action you're already doing, right? Then,
yeah,
you get yourself back.
Yeah.
So really beautiful. Well, tell us, what is your free gift that you have for people?
My free gift, what I did is as I said, I've written a number of books, and one of them is the Owning Your Leadership. Now, you may be home alone, but you're the leader of your own life.
Right.
You may be home raising children. You're the leader of that family, all right, of that home. It doesn't matter where you are in life. We are all called to leadership. And the book has broken up into 5 different styles of leadership, 5 different personality styles, 5 styles of leadership, the strengths and vulnerabilities of each, and the diseases each is predisposed to.
Wow.
Because each style of leadership holds their stress differently, and how you hold your stress defines the diseases that you have the greatest propensity towards.
Wow, that's so interesting. And then do you give some tips on how to get out of that pattern?
I certainly do. I certainly do. Because our bodies are meant to heal themselves. Yeah. And when they can't, what are we doing to block the immune system function?
Yeah.
And stress is a massive enemy of the immune system.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you said about tools, like having those tools to,
right,
lift you out of that stress, which is all out here, until you bring it in, right? Yeah. All right. Well, we're almost done. So leave us with a few last thoughts to send us off.
As I said, and I've said it a few times, life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be survived. And there is nothing, my very first book is called Dreams Are Only the Beginning of Becoming Who You're Meant to Be. Every dream you possess, I honestly believe, is our soul's way of calling us to become who we are meant to be. Because every time you go after a dream, you develop new skills. You develop a new sense of self. You see yourself in a new way. So that by the time you achieve that dream, you're not the person who had the dream over here. You've now actualized it. And you've taken risks, you've grown, you may have hit some hard times or some good times, and you've expanded. You are not the person who started the dream. I see it as, I want to be a teacher. I'm going to, at 18, I'm going to go find a college where I can get, by the time I'm 22 or 23, and I'm in a classroom and I think, oh my God, what on earth was I thinking? All right. You did not make a mistake. You climbed this mountain where you know more about yourself than that 18-year-old high school graduate did. You have a far greater sense of yourself socially, emotionally, spiritually, and professionally and intellectually. And so now you're at the top of this mountain. You have a vista this 18-year-old never had. And so it isn't, no dream is a mistake. It calls you to develop wisdom and knowledge you never would have had otherwise. And from that vista, you get to see another place you couldn't see from down here. Jump off that cliff, climb another mountain to another dream. You'll develop more skills, more self-awareness, more awareness of how you fit in the world, and you'll have achieved that much more. All right. So you're continuously then, now you have a vista you don't even have at this point. Yeah. Always growing. We're never meant to stagnate. We're meant to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. And it is such an encouragement.
Yeah.
To reframe it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And give up guilt, give up mistake, gives up those illusions. Guilt is created by religion to control us. Give it up. I made a mistake. I won't do that again. Right. Welcome to humanity, darling. Now you know that wasn't one of your smarter moves. And get over it, learn from it, and move on. Don't feel guilty about it. Just keep on going.
I so agree. I often say there's only fall down, get up.
Yep, that's it. That's
The
it.
difference is how quickly do you do it, and with how much grace and how much ease, and like you said, resiliency. So I'm with you. This is an encouragement, I hope, to everybody who's watching to get back up, to have the courage to go forward. And thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you. It's a joy to be here with you.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody watching, take to heart what you heard, share in our Facebook group if you want. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.